My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm a realtor in South Central Alaska, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching you in real estate. And today, what we're going to be doing is talking about the market update for what's going on here in Anchorage, Alaska, as far as the residential, the condo, and the multifamily market. For the first time, we're starting to see some indications that the market's starting to see a bit of a turn here, a couple metrics that are starting to change a little bit. And we'll see in the future if they're going to make a big impact, or this is the beginning of kind of a bigger market adjustment. But, that's something that only time will tell. Before we get started, though, as always, do make sure you give this video a like, do subscribe if you haven't done so already. And let's go and jump into today's market update looking at Anchorage, Alaska. First thing we're going to look at is the residential market. In the residential market, we need to know how many properties are available on the market. Not a whole lot. There's about 172 properties are available on the market this year. Last year it was about 275, which that sounds like a big cut until you look at just how big of a cut that was compared to the years before, where actually a couple, I think it was in 2018, the inventory was up to about 700 about this time of year. Now we're at 172. So yes, inventory, we've been saying it for a while, is very compressed. Looking at year over date, yes, but it gets even more compressed, and that point gets rammed home even more if you look at a couple of years back. So yes, inventory still very compressed. The next thing we need to look at is the number of properties that have actually sold in Anchorage for the residential market in this time period. Not surprisingly, we are seeing that number is starting to decline. Just the demand remains high, but if you only have so many properties available on the market, then there's going to be a cap on how many properties can actually sell at one time, because we see that it went from about 250 properties this time last year sold. Now it's looking a lot closer to like that 150, 170 range. So even though the demand remains really high, the number of properties that can sell or available to sell goes down so much to where that overall sold number of properties does come down. Last but not least, we see the average sold price has gone up by approximately $18,000 from where it was before, from about $412,000 to about $431,000. So this is about an $18,000 increase for the average sold price. It did increase even more so. Like a couple of years ago, the average sold price was about $401,000. So you do see there's approximately a $30,000 per average sold price increase over the course of a couple of years. And that's what we can really expect moving forward. And some, compared to a lot of other parts in the country, that's really nothing. But for us, that's significant. The next thing we're going to look at is our condos. Now in the condo market, yikes. Okay, so let's go and start with this. The total number of available condos this time last year was about 230, which is still a pretty sizable compression compared to where we were in previous years. But now the number from 230 went down to 74. So yikes. Yeah, that's pretty significant. Not a whole lot of condos available for sale here in Anchorage. Now, for the average sold price for condos, we actually didn't see that it dropped too much, okay? And so that's significant to me because, I know the number of units sold this time last year was roughly about 120 odd condos that sold, and now it's about 95. So on paper, it looks like we've taken a pretty sizable cut. But in comparison to how compressed the inventory is, that's still doing really good and shows that there's still a lot of demand for condos here in Anchorage. So good news definitely if you're selling. If you're wanting to buy, then that is just the landscape that we know that we're walking into. Now for the average sold price for condos in Anchorage. So would you like to take any guesses what's happened to the average sold price, considering that the inventory's been so compressed and we still have a lot of demand? Well, if you said that the average sold price would be shooting through the roof, you would actually be incorrect. So condos really do not appreciate aggressively. When you buy a condo, it's not because you're looking for that appreciation, at least not here in this area, in this market. Maybe in other places where it's beachfront condos in Florida or something like that, it'd be different. But here, not a whole lot of appreciation. Matter of fact, just looking at that one specific month, now that's not overall, but for that one specific month, the average sold price went from about $228,000 the year before to about $218,000 for this past month that we have all the data for. So yeah, that's about what we would expect. Overall, we're probably sitting at maybe just a little over where we were last year compared to just year to date. But overall, condos don't really appreciate very much. And frankly, just seeing that there is some appreciation going on and condos are selling is actually a breath of fresh air, because if you've been watching the condo market for a while, you understand that condos don't particularly move very quickly in this market. So great news for you if you're wanting to sell your condo. But let's go and take a break here real quick. For those of you who've been watching for a while, you do know that I do host the Alaskan Journey podcast in addition to hosting the Alaska Realtor YouTube channel. If you want to hear from people who actually live up here in Alaska right now, that's going to be a great place to get a lot of your questions answered, just about the basic stuff of what it's like living in Alaska, what do you do once you get up here, traveling tips for getting up here, and all that good stuff. So do make sure you take advantage of that. And if you're looking at getting your property ready to go on the market anytime in the near future, do also make sure you check out my seller guide, and you can reach out to me by registering on my website. Link for that will be in the description section down below, and just put seller guide in the little comment box so I know what to send you. Now, let's go and finish today's market update and look at what's going on in the multifamily market. Now, in the multifamily market, like with the residential side and the condo side, we are seeing a big decrease in the number of properties that are available. It went from about 137 units that were available this time last year, and now it's down to 67. So that's about what we would expect. If you have a multifamily property right now, you probably don't want to sell if you can avoid it, just because the rents are going up. Now, if you've been looking for an opportunity to cash out, this is a no-brainer. It's time to sell and time to cash out while the market's hot. But yeah, for some people, rents are high, so the properties are even more profitable than they were before. So we're seeing a lot of investors kind of just hold on to their property for the time being. Now, the number of properties that have actually sold in the municipality for the multifamily has gone up very, very slightly. It was 35 properties sold this time last year, and now it's 36. So pretty much stayed the same for all intents and purposes. So that's significant, especially when you go back and you look at the total number of properties that usually do sell this time of year. Usually you're looking closer at about 10, 15 properties that have sold. And for a couple of years now, you see that the number of properties that have sold from multifamilies have actually been much higher. So still a pretty high demand. Last but not least, the average sold price for the multifamily properties went from about $459,000 to about $504,000 for this past month. So seems like a pretty sizable increase. Do keep in mind, though, multifamily properties here in Anchorage do include everything from the duplex all the way up to the big, 30-unit multiplex that's out there. So what's the big takeaway here? So overall, the number of properties overall that have sold has decreased. If we're looking at the residential side, that to me is a indicator that the market might be slowing down, or it might be an indicator that the demand still remains high, and just we've gotten to the point where the pitch and fury is too much, where people just aren't really willing to get their property on the market because they're afraid of where else they would go. So I wish I could say that that's going to change with this season. I'm not really confident that's going to be the case, because with interest rates going up, a lot of sellers at this point who bought within a couple of years who normally would be looking at selling this time might be thinking, well, if I buy anything now, it's going to be at a higher interest rate and I'm going to have to pay more money and get less house. So I might as well just hold on to what I have now. So if you are on the fence if you should buy, this is probably not going to get any better anytime in the near future, and we just need to jump in and try to take advantage of the lower interest rates while we can. I'm in the same boat. I know there's definitely some sticker shock, and and concern about, well, what if the market suddenly shifts? I'm not seeing signs that the market's going to have this big shift everyone's talking about. I expect to see the rate at which things are appreciating to slow down. Okay, I'm expecting to see that. I'm not expecting to see a big drop in market values that's not really based in anything that I can realistically look at in the data. So that's what we're seeing on the residential side. On the condo side, again, it's kind of a breath of fresh air that these properties are actually moving. If you've been stuck in a condo for a while and wanting to make a move happen, certainly feel free to reach out to me. I've got a couple folks that would definitely be interested. And in the multifamily, multifamily properties are going to remain profitable for the foreseeable future just because, the rent incomes are going up. And so the rental potential, if you are a landlord, is pretty high. That being said, though, the property taxes are going to go up just because the municipality of Anchorage and the Matsu Borough are not going to miss the opportunity to increase property taxes because the market's doing so well as far as real estate goes. So this has been your market update for what's going on in Anchorage. Thanks for watching. And if you do have questions, feel free to reach out to me either on my Facebook page, my Instagram, or feel free to reach out to me on my website down below, and be happy to chat with you and see how best I can help.